Tune in this week as Romeo and Kenny discuss business planning. What does your plan look like, and what are the tools and informational data points that you need to successfully plan your 2022? What's up, rap stars? It's your host, Romeo Santos, co-host Kenny Fulton. Kenny, good afternoon, my man. How are you?
What's up, brother? Doing well. Excited about today's topic.
Me too. We love this topic because we know from our history working together that the 7 Ps are alive and well. Do you remember what the 7 Ps are that we can tell our audience the 7 Ps?
Pop quiz. Proper, prior,
Yes.
planning,
Yeah.
prevents piss poor performance.
That is all of them. Ladies and gentlemen, give that man a gold star. Now, that I have to attribute and give credit to my good friend Jennifer Woodhouse, who taught that to me a long time ago. And when she said it, I loved it, and I've used it religiously ever since. Because what a fantastic thing to really, if you just think about it, right? It's a funny, catchy way, the 7 Ps. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. Well, who wants to be a piss poor performer? Do you want to be a piss poor performer, Kenny?
No, not at all.
Do you think any of the people that are actually taking the time out of their day to listen to a podcast like this actually are piss poor performers or want to be?
No.
No, absolutely not, because they're investing in themselves. They're, instead of riding down the road listening to today's hits, they're trying to get knowledge from everywhere and anywhere they possibly can. And we each week do our very best to try to bring value and to try to, just share our perspective on things. And hopefully through that, we leave some folks with some nuggets to take away. So it's that time of year, right? It's November, and we're actually deep into November. And we started this process at the beginning of October, which even the beginning of October really is a little bit late, but you want to kind of be wrapping this up. And so what we're going to be talking about today is business planning, right?
Yeah.
Now, Kenny, are we talking about writing a business plan that you send to the bank that's 25 pages that'll take a group of people to do?
Nope. Something that is easy for you to understand and just give yourself a roadmap in whatever format is best suited for you.
Love that. I love that. What a great way to put it. It's a roadmap, right? And our roadmap in the way that we do our business plans is to first look backwards.
That's right.
Right? What have we done? How have we done? What did we track? And if we review all those things, it begins to give us some clues, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny, we always say success leaves clues. Yet, not only success leaves clues, failure leaves clues too, right?
Yeah.
And so when looking back and we were evaluating, and we've been doing this throughout the year anyway, so we always know where we are with our numbers, but a lot of people don't do that, right? If you out there are listening and you even put together a plan each year, kudos, congratulations, hats off. If you follow your plan throughout the year as well, holy moly, you're 10X in it, right? If you're like most people though, you just get up every day and you do your best to work hard and get after it, which is great, good for you. And there's a better way. There's a better way, right? So we have to pay attention to the success, which leaves us clues, right? Or the clues which lead us to success is probably a better way to put it. Lead us to success and away from failure. So what are some of those clues that we're looking at when we're going back and we're evaluating, Kenny?
Well, being that we're in real estate, a lot of our goals are set around, our, commission, how much we're looking to earn, how much sales volume, that we need to reach. So we have our KPIs.
What's a KPI for anybody that may not know, Kenny?
So that's your key performance indicators.
Exactly.
So depending on what you do, that could be different things. So for us, one of those indications could be units. So let's say your goal is to close, 4 units a month, right? That could be a KPI.
Sure.
A KPI can be your gross volume. So it could be, closing, $1 million, $2 million a month. It could be
Yeah.
based upon, a normal of different factors. So the first thing you have to do is identify what type of metrics are trackable, that are specific, and that you have the ability, to capture and record and reflect upon. So,
Yeah.
for example, sometimes it's not until after you get to the end that you get there and you're like, this is where we are. Maybe it's where you wanted to go. Maybe it's not where you wanted to go. But if you don't know how you got there, there's really no way to ensure that you get there next time or don't end up in that same place next time. So your
100%.
KPIs are something that you can, it should be something that's not just at your end of the year, did I make this amount of money? It should be something that you can track along the way to see if you are on course or off course, and something that you could also use as a guide to plan ahead. You have to have some kind of control over it. So one example, like with us, is as we started to look at our numbers, it was like, okay, how much of this is just based upon, what we did, and how much this is based upon what the market provided itself. And so,
Sure.
because we have these KPIs that are trackable, one thing that you brought up yesterday was that how our growth was in line with about how the rest of the market did. So it's like,
Sure.
okay, well, yeah, we hit many of our goals, but some of those we were going to hit anyway, just because the market kind of gave that to us, and weren't
Sure.
necessarily driven by all of our actions alone.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So let me unpack a couple of those things, okay? And thank you for touching on all those. So there are a few things, and let's go to just to some basics. So anybody out there that like this is already elementary for you, bear with us, because there are some folks that are going to be listening that it's not, right? So key performance indicators, exactly like you said, are going to be things that are measurable and trackable, right?
Mhm.
Now, you also said you don't want to get to the end of the year, you want to be able to track them. So there are different things that you can track in your key performance indicators. There are lagging measures, right? Now, a lagging measure would be how many deals did I close in January? 4. Okay, great. Why is it a lagging measure? Because you can't do anything about it anymore.
Mhm.
It is what it is. It's done. It's gone. It's in the history. Okay. Then you have leading measures, right? And the leading measures are really what we focus on more than anything, because those are the items that we can control. Those are the levers, right? Is did you do? Those are the things that you can track that will help you to see that if I do this, I will get that, right? And so if we only look at those lagging measures and we don't pay attention to how we got to them, we'll always be flying blind. And that's what we do when we focus on business planning and looking back. It's all those key performance indicators together that help us determine what the next year looks like. So
Mhm.
just wanted to unpack that for anybody that is listening to you talk high level, but maybe we need to bring it down a little bit so that we can break it down for everybody a little bit more. Okay. All right. So when we're looking at those numbers and we're looking back, give me some thoughts that you've picked up over the last couple of years of we've been doing these exercises that have been eye-opening for you when you, let's just say, when you thought you were doing better than you actually ended up doing.
Mm. Well, most industries you're going to have ebbs and flows, right? There's going to be points where you are meeting or exceeding or not reaching your goals, and there's this kind of constant up and down.
Hmm.
And then sometimes you're going up and then you're going down, and then you're kind of expecting that rebound, but it doesn't happen at that point that you normally hit it. And then you
Sure.
realize that it's not the actions of what you did last week or maybe even 2 weeks ago. It might be the actions that you did 2 months ago
Hmm.
that are giving your current business. And so when you're at a peak, we kind of have this tendency of like, look, we're busy. I got 6 or 7 deals going on at the same
Yeah.
time, and you're at your peak, and you're kind of focused on your current situation, and not doing the same activities that got you to that point to
Yes.
ensure that once you've cleared this business, that you have another book of business kind of coming along. So so I think that's something that is kind of happened year over year. Number one, because that's just kind of how the market works. And then as we get into the third quarter, and then we know that this is coming because it comes every year. We also see some of our peers who don't have that same
Mm.
waning of production. And so I think that's probably one of the hardest things is to keep in mind of like, even at the height when you're super busy, is to keep that momentum of ensuring that tomorrow's business is going to come in at the same way that your current business is.
Yeah, 100%. I love it. So, and this goes across all businesses, right? Like all businesses do this because whether you think you are or you don't think you are in fact in the business of lead generating,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I love that Gary Keller said this and it stuck with me forever. Gary Keller says that you have two jobs, no matter what your job is, your chosen profession and lead generation. And then he went on to say, if you are a doctor and you have your own practice, yes, you are a doctor. And to get clients, you must generate leads to actually build your practice. If you are an accountant, same thing. If you own a restaurant or you're a chef, same thing. If you're a real estate agent, same thing. And I just want to debunk something because we say this all the time. We're not salespeople. We're not in the sales business. Yes, we call it a sale when something closes, right? So technically we're a salesperson. Even our license says Maryland license, DC license, Virginia license, real estate salesperson.
That's right.
But we look at ourselves as problem solvers, right? So in our organization, we are real estate problem solvers is our chosen profession. And also to be successful in that profession, we're lead generators. So the business planning elements that we want to talk to everybody about today is how do you break down the activities that you need to perform on a regular basis so that you can set yourself up to perform your chosen profession more consistently and at a greater volume, right? So if people can wrap their mind around that, now all of a sudden they go, okay, that makes sense. I've chosen to do X. For all intents and purposes, I'd imagine 90% of people listening to this podcast, they've chosen to sell real estate, right? They've chosen to help people buy and sell real estate, invest in real estate, whatever it is, okay? So you have one job. And let's all be honest, because the ebbs and flows that you're talking about, it comes from, I'm not busy, so I've got all the time in the world to make contacts. I get busy, and then I get busy with my job, which is going on appointments, negotiating contracts, writing offers, going on home inspections, doing open houses, marketing a property, you name it. There's a plethora of things that we do. Well, that's your chosen profession. Well, guess what happens when we don't balance that? When we don't balance it, that's when you feel those ebbs and flows, because while you're busy doing your job, you're not doing your lead generation. And then all of a sudden, when that job portion is done because those transactions have closed out and you haven't done any lead generation, now you have no opportunity with anybody to actually go back and do your chosen profession again. So I just want to make sure, and I know I'm probably beating a dead horse here, but I want to make sure that everybody really understands that in order to do what you want to do, you must do some things that maybe you don't want to do. And I put it that way because for the most part, most people look at that part of their job as the uncomfortable part. Would you agree, Kenny?
100%, 100%. Could be the hardest part, right? And depending on your method of lead gen, it could be the most painful, maybe on a financial level, if there's a financial investment into finding clients, or like with us, could involve banging out the phones, if that's not your preferred method. So yeah, it's definitely the hardest part.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's dive into now what the business planning really looks like for us, right? So step one, we're going to go back and we're going to review. Let's say we're just going to role play it. Okay, we'll make it easy. Okay, so Kenny, it looks like so far this year you are on track to close roughly 28, maybe 30 transactions, right? Great.
Right.
Okay. Now let's look at the breakdown, Kenny. How many did we close on average per month? Obviously, if you just take an average between the amount of months in the year and your deals, you're at like 2.1, 2.2 deals a year. Okay. All right. But they didn't close that way, right? You didn't close consistently 2.1 or 2.2 deals every single month. You closed one deal one month, 3 the next, 4 the next, none the next, right? Whatever it may have been. So what are the things that we did? Now let's open up your lead generation tracking sheet, right? Mm-hmm. Let's take a look. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, listening to this podcast, this is something we actually do every single week, right? Otherwise, if we were having this conversation right now, trying to business plan, Kenny would not have had the year that he's had right now, right? Same with me. If my coach doesn't do this exercise with me, no way am I going to be focusing on it. I'm going to allow myself to get busy. So that is also something to think about in your business plan. Do I need a coach? How can I not afford a coach? Not how can I afford a coach, but how can you not afford to have a coach that's going to help keep you accountable to the activities that are going to grow your business? Mm-hmm. So we go through that exercise and we say, okay, Kenny, it looks like if we look at it, it looks like in March, you closed 6 transactions. Amazing. Way to go. And if I look at January, when in January you closed 1 transaction, it looks like you made 400 contacts in January. Mm-hmm. Okay. Beautiful. Can we maybe see some correlation there? Right.
Right.
Now let's look at April. April, you closed 4 transactions. Way to go. Okay. Let's look at February's contacts. Interesting, Kenny. You made 300 contacts in February. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, why do we think that is? Oh, I know why. Because the contacts that you made in January led to more of the job happening in February, which led to those March closings, mm-hmm. right? Interesting. Are we seeing a pattern here? Indeed, we are, right? Okay, so now let's look at May. Ooh, May you closed 2. Let's look at your March lead generation numbers. Kenny, you made 100 contacts mm-hmm. in March, right? Now, obviously, we're role-playing this out there, ladies and gentlemen. This is not Kenny's real numbers. Kenny is a very consistent person. But this is how this conversation might go with yourself or with maybe an accountability partner, or maybe you have a team leader or somebody that you can talk to that can walk you through this exercise, an honest exercise, right? That then ultimately the end of it is that you get to the point where you go, okay, so let's now aggregate all these numbers. Mm-hmm. If we aggregate all these numbers, and let's just say that at the end of the 12-month period that I averaged 200 conversations a month. Mm-hmm. Okay. 50 conversations a week. Okay. 10 conversations a day. See how I'm doing that?
Yep.
200 conversations. When I first said that, I bet you there were people out there that were like, oh. And then we said 50 a week and people were probably like, oh. Mm-hmm. And then I said 10 a day and people probably went, oh, 10 a day. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, I can have 10 conversations a day. Right. And those numbers were, again, we're just kind of throwing them out there. So now that we have that, though, we say, all right, so based on 200 conversations a month, 50 conversations a week, 10 conversations a day, how many appointments did I generate? Right. Okay. I generated 1 appointment a week. Okay. So 1 appointment generated a week for 4 a month total. Mm-hmm. For a total of 48 appointments a year, resulted in, let's just make the math easy, resulted in 24 transactions. I know you're going to close more than that, but let's just make the math easy. Okay. 24 transactions. Now, all of a sudden, we have a data set that we can utilize to plan next year's activities.
Right.
Right. So now once we have that data point where we go, okay, so it takes me 200 conversations to have 1 appointment a week or 4 in a month, which results in 48 appointments a year, which results in 24 closings a year. So I have a 50% ratio. Now we have this conversation. Kenny, how many deals do you want to close next year?
Next year, I want to close 40.
You want to close 40 deals. Just for math's sake, let's make it easy, okay?
48.
You want to close 48. Okay, great. Awesome, Kenny. That's a huge goal. I'm proud of you. That's amazing. Now that we have these KPIs, which we just talked about earlier, now we can reverse engineer your business plan, right? So this is all we're talking about when we talk about business planning. This is not complicated. Success is simple. It's not easy though. The exercise that we just went through, I may have made it sound easy, but it's only because we've done it so many times. The first time you do this, you'll struggle. And Marcus can put our emails in the lower thirds here. You can email us and ask us for help and ask us for documents that we use to help you, okay? So now we know that 48 transactions is what Kenny wants, everybody, okay? So now we say, all right, Kenny, if you want to do 48 transactions, based on your numbers last year, you have a couple options. One, you can do nothing at all to improve yourself. You can merely double your communication, double your appointments, and ultimately double your work. Does that sound fun?
No.
Doesn't sound fun to me either. Are there people out there that are having the same amount of conversations that we just modeled that closed more than 24 transactions out of 48 appointments?
Absolutely.
So if we had to guess, what do we think those items are that they do better than we would do in that particular scenario that we just role played?
They're probably having different conversations.
They're probably having different conversations. Their conversion is better, right? Okay, very good. So we know that we all have an infinite amount of time, correct?
Right.
You have two beautiful children and a beautiful wife, yes?
Yes.
Do you want to work double hard? And also, how will your family feel if you're working double hard?
Right. Yeah. It's not helping the home situation.
It's not going to help, right? It's not what you want to do. So now that we've got the start of a business plan, now we can say, all right, we want to do 48. Okay. There are a couple things that we need to do. Number one, for the first 2 months, yeah, you're probably going to need to do the 400 conversations because at the beginning, it's going to have to be muscle, right? You're going to have to muscle your way into that. Also, it's November the 12th. You're going to have to start this now.
Right.
Sorry, guys, it's November 17th. You're going to have to start this now, okay? If you don't start this activity now, we just talked about it, you're not going to have those closings that you want, which is the equivalent of 4 a month at 48 transactions. You're not going to have them in January. And so you might start off in a hole, right? I don't know about you, but digging out of a hole is not fun.
No.
Right? Starting behind the 8 ball is not fun. I'm sure we can come up with a million different things to say and different ways to say it, right? But the idea is we don't want to start at the back, right? So there are a couple things that we do in the business plan. First and foremost is the numbers, right? What's beautiful about numbers and tracking them on a regular basis, though, is what, Kenny?
The best part of tracking them, you can predict, forecast.
You can forecast, you can predict, and also when you're looking at them on a regular basis, you can adjust them, right? So if we know that at first you might have to muscle it, but also you probably know, well, I need to convert better. Now you can ask yourself, okay, what else do I need? Do I need a better presentation? Do I need to just be more comfortable with it? Do I need to practice it more? Am I asking for the business enough? If I'm having 50 conversations a week and I'm only getting 1 appointment, do I really need to have 100 to get 2? Or do I just need to be asking better questions and converting better? Right?
Yeah, you might have to change the conversation.
Correct. So part of your business plan may be, what coaching do I need?
Script practice and role play.
Yep.
Maybe find, like you said, accountability partner, finding somebody to have the conversations with. You might need somebody to listen in on your conversations so they can give you some tips about, hey, you could have done this differently here.
All those.
Then you could also ask people,
Yeah.
ask for feedback, or like you said,
All of
ask,
those.
just straight up ask for the business.
Love it. All of those things. All of those things. Okay. All right. So now we're. I know people out there listening probably like, where are these guys going with this? But like, we're putting it all together. Okay. We've got our prep table. Okay. And everything is sitting out on the prep table. Before we can put it into our business plan, we got to make sure we have all the ingredients necessary. What's the next ingredient that we really need to be able to not only put all this into a business plan, but then also execute anything that might be extra?
Mm, I don't know. Anything that might be extra? Oh, money. Wow.
How much did we earn? How much did you earn last year? How much
Right.
did you keep last year? How much did you pay in taxes last year?
Hmm.
Marcus is going to kill me with this pen, right? So now that you know that, now you're going to go back and you're going to look and say, okay, on my 24 transactions, I'm going to earn $150,000. Again, I'm just keeping numbers easy. I'm not that smart, everybody out there. Okay. So you got $150,000. All right. Well, let's say that your taxes are 25%. So $40,000 went to taxes. So that left you with $110,000. Okay. How much do you need to live on? $5,000? $10,000? If you're making 110 net, I hope it's not $10,000 because you're in the negative, right? So let's say
Right.
it's $5,000. Okay. $5,000 is 60, right? Okay. At 12 months. Okay. So if you have taxes paid, you net it 150. Okay. You paid taxes, you're down to 110. Your expenses are 60K. That leaves you $50,000, right? Now, obviously, we want you to save. Okay. We can't predict the future. We should always be saving. Okay. Depending on who you are and how you feel about this, you may want to tithe some of that money, right? Church, donations, whatever it might be. Okay. So why don't we take at least another $30,000 off? Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. So that leaves us with $20,000, right? So let's say that you're a solo agent out there, Kenny, and you had $20,000 and you just closed 24 transactions, or you're on track to close 24 transactions, and you had $20,000 that you could invest into your business next year. And you know that you don't want to work twice as hard, but you do want to double your production and also your income.
Hmm.
What are some things that you may want to focus on with that $20,000?
Mm.
And
Your
this is going to be
market.
different for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like for us, it would be, your marketing budget,
Sure.
maybe where you want to invest. Like,
Sure.
if I'm gonna, you don't have to double the amount of units. You can increase your price point.
There's a
Um,
thought. Okay.
you could say, hey, if my average sales price is 400,000 and I want to get to 700 or 800,000, how do I do that? Where are those houses at?
Yeah.
That might require, you make some changes in your own life. Okay, well, instead of, just being a part of this club or community or whatever, maybe I need to do it in the community that I want to get deals in, or
Yeah.
find clients at. That could be a part of where you're using that money to go to. So, and then uh, planning ahead. So, not just what it's going to take to get there, but maybe you overshoot your goals,
Mm.
and say, well, what if the conversion isn't the exact same conversion? Maybe I need to go a little bit heavier, or build some kind of
Sure.
contingency in there.
Yeah, yeah. And I know that you actually were lucky enough to be part of a really awesome boot camp training this week that
Mhm.
I unfortunately didn't get a chance to. Tell us a little bit about what you guys talked about this week in that boot camp that made you just say what you just said, I think.
Mm. So it's called the 10x mindset,
Okay.
and so it's particularly around goal setting. And so that the theory is that if you just decided that you wanted to double your business, and then you would look at all the activities and things like we spoke about before, and
Yep.
you say, okay, well then I'll make 400 phone calls instead of 200. And then you get to the end of the year, and then you don't even hit that goal, right? Because the market changed, things changes.
Mm.
But the theory is that if you have a 10x mindset, so instead of making, you know, do 20 million in volume, what if you shop for 200 million in volume? What does your
Ooh,
life
love
look
it.
like? What do you have to do in order to reach these goals? and not being scared of setting your goals for yourself and for the people around you high.
Yeah.
So that way, let's say that you start to put some things in effect and they start to plan out. You already have a plan in place on how you can, expand your business at a greater rate, as
Mm.
opposed to thinking so small that you don't even see the type of opportunities that you could take advantage of as if you thought bigger. So, like for example, we kind of spoke about the kind of communities that we want to tap into, and like in the luxury real estate market. So, if you have a 10x mindset, then you'd be like, you know what? I want to start listing some of these $3 million houses instead of
Yeah.
just a $300,000 houses. Okay. Well, if I was only focused on just doubling my volume, I would not be thinking about $3 million houses. I'd just be thinking about $300,000 to $600,000 houses.
Yeah.
Well, to get into the $3 million market, the luxury market, you have to change your entire mindset. Now, you don't have to do too many $3 million homes to blow your numbers out of the budget, out of the water from the previous year. So really, the 10x mindset is not just about financial goals, but it's also about how you approach your business and your personal life.
100%. 100%. And you know what? Forgive me for looking away, but as you started talking about that, it made me think about something that I think is really, really key, right? Business planning. When we do business planning, Kenny, do we have one section that's about business and then also one section that's about personal?
Yes.
Right. And that's because we like to come at it from a holistic approach. So Stephen R. Covey, okay, has written quite a few books on personal development, leadership, growth. He wrote one book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, okay? And so I love what you're talking about with 10X, because 10X is really talking about a few things, right? It's talking about kind of building it with the end in mind, and it's also talking about changing and stretching yourself, right? Mm-hmm. So let's dive into this. We're going to take just a little bit of a detour here, okay? So 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen R. Covey says that habit number 1 is to be proactive, okay? Well, what we're talking about already, and I guarantee you that over 80, maybe even 90% of all agents or even any professionals out there at all do not do a business plan, right? They are solopreneurs that are out there hoping for the best. And what do I say about hope as a strategy, Kenny?
Man.
I just simply say it's not a very good strategy, right? Hope is not a very good strategy, right? All right. So number 2 says begin with the end in mind. Well, that's what you're talking about. Don't be afraid to stretch yourself, right? Because here's the thing. If you say, I want to double my income, great, good for you. Awesome. That's a wonderful goal. We're not saying that your goals are small. But if you say, I want to quadruple, I want to 10X my production, I don't want to do 24 transactions, I want to do 240 transactions. Well, you know what that does to the mind, right? You know that you most likely are not going to do 240 transactions. Mm-hmm. Not that it's an impossibility, because people have, it's unlikely, right?
Right.
So it makes your mind do what? Doubt, but what else?
Probably don't even believe yourself.
Yeah. And also it's going to start making you ask questions. How can I get to 240 transactions? Right. And then answering those questions will help you to begin to build out an even larger business plan, right?
Okay. See what you're saying. Yeah.
Put first things first is habit number 3, right? First things first is what? Well, let's build this business plan. Mm-hmm. I'm a boater, right? One of the biggest things they say about going out on the water that can keep you safe is having a plan, knowing where you're going, and then telling people about it.
Right.
Right? A lot different than just getting in the car and saying, I'm just going to go for a ride. Right? And that's what most agents do. They just hop in their car and they just go for a ride. Mm. What we're talking about is navigating the heavy seas. How do we build a plan, chart a course, tell people about it, and telling people about it? Man, I actually love this analogy. You just came up with this. You're telling people about it. Well, what's going to happen? If you're telling people, hey, I'm going to do 240 transactions this year, and they see you in 3 months and they go, hey, Kenny, man, how are you coming along on those 240 transactions? I've done 5.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. What's going on, man? You need some help? Anything I can do? You need to talk, right? You almost like are putting it out there in a way that you are creating accountability.
Yeah.
We all care what people think about us, whether we say it or not, right? We all do to some degree. So I love that putting that 10X out there, right? And then putting first things first. What's your plan? Come up with a plan. How are you going to get there? That plan may not just be you, right? So you got $20,000. What are you going to do? Well, is it $20,000? Do you need a coach if you don't have one? If you have a coach, maybe it's not a coach. Do you need an assistant? Is it going to take an assistant to get there, right? Or it might be, do you need a system? Are you missing a system, right? Is your issue not that you're having too few conversations or that you're not even saying the right things, but is it that you're not following up in the appropriate way to guarantee that you're going to get more referrals and more appointments?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So continually evaluating that. Okay.
Yeah.
It also says that habit number 4 is think win-win. Okay. Well, I love this one because a lot of people listening to this might be thinking, yeah, I want to double my business. I want to put more money in my pocket. Great. We all do. However, it can't be at the demise of others or the detriment of others, right? So if you're going to double your income, you probably need to double your knowledge too. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
Double your skill set, double your work ethic, maybe even not your work time, but work ethic, maybe, right? Yeah. You know, so there's going to be a lot of things that you have to do, which in turn, as you get rewarded, you too will be rewarding others because it's going to be a win-win because you've done more to make yourself better, right? Okay. Number 5, habit. Seek first to understand and then to be understood, right? Talking about our business planning, how do you think that could fit in? Seek first to understand and then be understood.
Seek first to understand, then be understood. I mean, I guess thinking understanding makes me think about educating yourself.
Sure. Okay.
So maybe what is your client looking for? You know,
love that.
And you know, where are they at? You know, how are you meeting a need? How are you solving a problem? You know, so learning, you know, exactly how you can, you know, help your client or who your client is, what they're looking for. And then using that to tell other people how you can solve those problems.
Yeah. Yep. I also, the thing that comes to my mind when I think of seek first to understand is, are there other people out there doing what I'm doing? Can I understand what it is that they're doing and why they're doing it and how they're doing it? Right. And then can I utilize that to maybe help myself identify even more clearly what it is that I want and why I want it, right? Because we say all the time, right? Like nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care, right? So just saying that you want to do more volume because you want to make more money is not going to tug on a whole lot of people's heartstrings.
Right.
It's not going to necessarily connect with a whole lot of people that are going to make them go, oh, Kenny, man, I love that goal. You want to make more money? I'll work with you.
Right.
Right. Okay. Habit number 6 is to synergize. Well, I'm going to keep going back to this because I know for me, this is a big mantra of mine, right? Every day when I read out my affirmations in the morning, at the end of each set, it says, I seek out who's, not how. You don't have to do it alone. Synergizing is the act of combining people and resources or ideas and thoughts and resources to maximize the effort that you're going to be doing, right? So this may again be getting a coach or getting an accountability partner, or maybe creating a mastermind with other agents in your area that are in the same, mindset that you are, that you can brainstorm and find ways that you can work together and collaborate, right? It's all about putting together this plan of all these things you want to do. And I know the audience is probably like, man, they're going all over the place. We are, because this is really a business plan, is not just as simple as a lot of real estate companies will have you think, that your numbers are this and here's your KPIs. And if you do this, and if you want more, then you just double it and there you go. Yes, of course you can do that. That is not sustainable. We're talking about how do we build a business plan that not only is sustainable, but that you will follow and that you'll enjoy following. And even if you fail at hitting the exact goal that you wanted, you maybe set the goal so big that it's still a massive win for you.
Yeah.
Right? Now, the last one is one that is really dear to my heart. And I think that, well, I say it all the time, it has made the largest difference in my world. Sharpen your saw. Right? How are you learning? How are you growing? What are you doing to get better every single day? And we talk about this all the time, right? We're in the car for multiples of hours a week. Are you jamming out, having a good time, listening to the latest top hits? Which I'm not saying anything wrong with that. Or are you listening to a podcast? Are you listening to an ebook? Are you doing something? Even, gosh, some days when I'm stressed, you know what I do? I put on meditational, soundtracks from Apple Music and just practice breathing to calm down and like center myself, right? Especially if I'm like frustrated or angry about something. I'm not good to anybody in that state of mind, right? First off, myself, and nobody else after that, right? So sharpening your saw is talking about, I think, a culmination of all these things that we're talking about. Like, how are you going to get better so that you can be more effective, more efficient, and do more with the same amount of time? We are not here to promote, and no knock to Grant Cardone. I mean, I think he's an incredible dude. And I know we use the term 10X and a lot of people use it, and they it obviously there's a connotation of Grant Cardone, but like Grant Cardone says, you just need to work harder. You just need to go out and make more calls and do this. Yes, that will work. It will work. It won't work for me, not in my point in life, not with my 1-year-old and my 3-year-old and my wife and my family. That doesn't work for me. And I know that there are other people that are 10Xing their lives and their businesses, and they're 10Xing everything without 10Xing the amount of work that they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Absolutely.
And I've seen it happen. Okay. I'll give a great example. Marcus, who produces our show, met me at a time when I was still working in hospitality. I'd started a consulting business. Okay. I worked 7 days a week for 6 months, 4 days at one restaurant in DC. I then took a bus. I took the metro to New Carrollton and then a bus to the Lowe's Hotel in Annapolis. And I worked all weekend there and then went back and did it all over again, right? I doubled the amount of work that I did. And at the end of the year, I had some savings. I had some extra savings, right? I have learned better ways to do it. And the amount of income that I'm able to earn for my family now, and also to help people around me and to do good in my community, is significantly larger working a normal 40, sometimes 50-hour work week versus that time in my life when I was probably all in told with travel and everything else, was probably at like 90, 95 hours a week.
Wow. Yeah.
Right? So it's not about working twice as hard. It's about finding better ways to be more effective, putting together your business plan, and then finding somebody to help you stay accountable as you execute that business plan, right? So we utilize a tool called a 1-3-5, right? And then also that 1-3-5 is really our, what are we going to do? What are the things that we want to focus on this year? So that's one part of our business plan. And in there are personal things, right? I want to read 10 books. I want to go on vacation 4 times a year. I want to lose 20 pounds, whatever it is, right? Like there's personal items in there as well. And then we pull it into what we call our 411. And our 411 in there also has a sheet where we track our contacts, right? And of course, we track our contacts in our database and our CRM, and we put touch dates and all those things. And that helps us be more effective, right? When we first started working together, Kenny, we actually had a goal to do more contacts every day than we have now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do we do more business now than we did back then?
Absolutely.
So are you telling me it is actually possible to work not as hard and actually increase production?
Yep.
Right? So the business plan is going to be what's going to set you free to lead you there, right? It's going to help you to focus and center yourself so that you can determine what are the most important things that you need to be doing. And then you do those really, really, really friggin' well. And you'll see your business get better. Mm-hmm. But it all starts with your business plan. So to recap, where do we start, Kenny?
Started off, you have to look back
Yes.
on, what you did 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully you already have KPIs and you've been tracking your progress along the way, and you can make some correlation between, your effort and your results.
Yeah. Yep.
And then set some goals around those and tie in the metrics between, your effort and your results and what you're going to need to do next year to reach those.
Absolutely. And then we're going to take it to the next step, right? And we're going to determine, okay, what are some of the needs that we have? Now that I've set this new goal and I've determined what my KPIs are. Now, listen, everybody out there listening that doesn't have KPIs, don't feel bad, right? Honestly, make them up to the best of your ability. And I promise you, we've experienced this, you're going to tell yourself that you've been making X contacts every week and every month and every day. Okay. And now that you're going to put this in place and you're going to track it and you're going to say, all right, well, I need to double that, or you want to increase it by 10%, or maybe you just leave it where it is. And then you actually track it and you feel what it feels like to actually make those contacts. You're going to realize, oh crap, I was not making those contacts, right? We think that we are doing way more. And there's all sorts of studies about this where people say, oh yeah, I've made, 25 contacts today. And then they go back and they look and they go, you've actually had 3 conversations today and you've been here for 6 hours, because we're good at wasting time, right? So if you don't have KPIs, make them up to the best of what you think you've been doing, okay? It will flush out whether or not that's accurate when you actually do start tracking them, all right? So then you determine what your needs are, okay? Once you determine what your needs are, you figure out what that budget is, right? You figure out what your needs are, and then you start to put it all together and like, okay, how am I going to track this out? What are all the different things that I want to do? Again, we use a 1-3-5. You don't have to use that. Just, I don't care what you do. Put it on paper, bullet point it. Again, email us and we will send you the tools that we have. And we're happy to jump on anybody on a Zoom and show you this tool, okay? It's not a high-tech tool. It's a very basic tool. But the secret sauce is not in how technical your tools are. It's in how you actually write things down and then how often you look at them. That's the secret sauce. That's it. Again, success is simple, not easy. It's hard to do those things consistently, right? The discipline to do the mundane things over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, long after the excitement of the new idea has worn off, that's hard. That's really, really hard. And also, it's what separates those who achieve at a really high level and those who don't, right? So you put everything down in paper, and then I really believe that the final step, I don't care who you are. I don't care if it's your mom, your spouse, your brother, somebody else in the office that you're like-minded. You need somebody to meet with on a consistent basis, once a week, I think, to review your plan and see how you're doing.
Yeah.
You've got to look at your plan every single week, and you've got to be tracking the activities and the things that you're doing so that you can get ahead of it. Because you can get to the end of a month real quick. And if you look back and you actually have been tracking and you see that you're nowhere near the production levels that you want, you've got some ability to make some changes right then and there and not wait until June when it might be too late to catch up.
Yep. Always be open to changing course.
That's the beauty of it, man. We're not a aircraft carrier is what I say all the time, right? We're a little 22-foot center console out on the bay. We can turn it around in a heartbeat, whatever we need to do. But we only do that with informed information after we've informed ourselves with information that helps us to make the best decision for ourselves, our businesses, and our families.
That's right.
All right. Well, listen, I think we unpacked a ton in there. I don't want to keep going on because we could do this all day long. But what I want to offer to everybody out there listening, if you are curious about these things that we're talking about, if they sound foreign to you, if you've never done a business planning session, Kenny and I are opening ourselves up to you through the end of this year. If you email us, we will jump on a 30-minute Zoom call with you and walk you through the different tools that we use and how we do this, okay? So take advantage of that. It's our time. We will work with you. Anybody that wants to, we genuinely care about your business. We want you guys to succeed. We want you all to thrive in your businesses. And we want our industry as a whole to get better so that we can all raise the tide and make our industry that we love and care about and that we chose as our chosen profession to be here and to continue to go.
I like that. I think you're gonna have to keep these boat analogies, in the conversation, man. I like it a lot.
I'm jonesing for the boat. I mean, it's like 65 degrees in Annapolis today, and my boat has been winterized. I'm so upset with myself.
Yeah.
I would have totally done this podcast from the boat. 100%.
Marcus, you gotta figure that out for us.
Next year we might have to do that. We might have to do a few shows from the boat next year, or at least down on the dock, something.
Yep. That'd be awesome.
All right. Well, listen, Kenny, remind everybody where they can find you.
Well, since we're starting off with email, Kenny@redanchorproperties.com. Instagram @Realtor Kenny Fulton, Facebook Kenny Fulton, and cell 443-763-0958.
All right, very good. And because I was confused myself, I made everything easier, guys. So you can find me anywhere, all different channels, Romeo Santos I. You might have to add an underscore in Instagram, but you'll find me. Email Romeo@redanchorproperties.com and call me or text me 240-401-8023. Rap stars, that has been our show. Kenny, Marcus, thank you guys so very much. We're out.
Peace.